Hello, hello, welcome, everyone. I'm glad to see you all here today. This is my second live stream this week. Actually, it's my third if you count our Discord time last Tuesday night with my husband and I. So wonderful to have you all here. If you could be so kind as to give me a thumbs up or some indication that you hear me, that we know that this is actually on YouTube right now, that would be really great. Thank you. So while I'm waiting for those thumbs up, I'm just want to do a little housekeeping. And that is, I would like to remind everybody that I have so many that are available to you that are linked in the description box of every video that I do. One I neglected to mention on the last live stream that I did was MediaFire. If you want to download my videos, the timelines, the show notes, everything, you can go to MediaFire and do that. They're all available for you. So thank you for the thumbs up, everybody. I'm glad that I'm coming through loud and clear and everything. Welcome. I'm so glad you're all here. It's always amazing to me that people show up in what's the middle of the day for me here in Idaho and throughout most of the United States, morning for some places. And East Coast, we're already in the afternoon. Welcome. Hi, Hope Faith from Minnesota. Nice to see you here at land of 10,000 lakes, where I spent most of my childhood was actually in Minnesota. So born in South Dakota, raised in Minnesota, spent most of my adult life in California and various other places, and in Idaho for the last, how many years is it? Anyway, since 2011. So that's 13 years, I guess. All right. So I'm just wanted to remind you of the MediaFire option that you have for downloading some of my things. And the timeline, I really hope you'll get a copy of it. And the timeline is a template. So it's like say, for example, if something happened where we weren't raptured this fall, which I think is highly unlikely, but just in case, the template still works for next year too. So, but I can't imagine going beyond this year, let alone into next year. So, all right. So I've got the timelines, and I have a PDF that mine is all marked up, but it's I'll put that in the description box as well, just listing some of the important dates for 2024 through 2028. Okay, so I'm talking about an invasion today. I'm talking about an invasion, and I want to give just a little disclaimer here, and that is that I'm going to be sharing some scary stuff. Some scary stuff that most end time watchmen and watchwomen really don't talk about. And it's really not discussed in eschatology. And I pretty much know that it's not because I never found it out there. And I've been doing this, I've been around for a really long time. So I started, my journey in eschatology with Hal Lindsey and the late great Planet Earth way back in the 70s. So I've been around for a while, and I've never heard anybody except for me really make any kind of emphasis on this. But I think this is one of those huge emphases that the book of Revelation is making. So if you are made squeamish by talking about supernatural events that are coming, or if this is a problem, or if you have anxiety or depression or anything like that, I probably would advise don't watch this video, because it's just going to be not very there's a happy ending, of course, because Jesus comes back and we are going to be raptured, but we're not going to be raptured before the very first invasion takes place. We're going to witness this invasion. So, anyway, the focus that most people have when dealing with end times tends to be very compartmentalized. So I saw on the chat here somebody was mentioning about Russ Dizdar, and he talked about the Black Awakening or the Dark Awakening. I think it's called the Black Awakening, and super soldiers and that sort of thing. And what I've found is that people like L.A. Marzulli and um, Timothy Alberino, there's Steve Quayle, talk about some of the bad guys during the end times. Okay, they talk about the bad guys, the hybrids, and the return of the Nephilim and all of that. Okay, they talk about that, but very seldom do they know how to put it in the context of Revelation and the bigger story. So people tend to have their speciality, and actually a fairly new specialty in end times is, hi Cindy, just thought I'd say hi to my friend there. A specialty that's sort of come on the scene really in the last 20 years or so is the whole um, Black Awakening, uh, aliens, invasions, body snatchers, that sort of thing. That's sort of like brand new in the last 20 years or so. That isn't something that was really talked about at all. Like if you read any kind of older books on eschatology, you're never going to read about aliens or hybrids or body snatchers and that sort of thing. It just isn't something that you would read about. And if people even suggested that some kind of alien, in quotes, invasion might happen, people would be laughed to scorn. And actually, people mocked me a number of years ago when I started talking about how fallen angels are going to be coming, and they may be disguised as aliens. We really don't know at this point in time exactly what this is going to look like, but we do know that we've been pre-programmed to believe that there is going to be some kind of superhero alien, some kind of something that is going to be showing up. Okay, these fallen ones showing up in some kind of disguise, and they will be disguised. They will not show up as who they are. They will show up with a cover story. But the focus of most people tends to be very kind of compartmentalized. And so, like the big picture, most people aren't really seeing the big picture. So if you go to most end time channels, they're going to talk about the Antichrist, and most of them are 7-year tribulation channels. So it's the Antichrist signing the peace covenant. It's about the rapture of the bride, the rapture of the church, and so on. And that really is the focus for most people, is either talking about the rapture or the appearance of the Antichrist, which most people believe will start this 7-year tribulation thing. So that's mostly what people talk about. That's the emphasis, the blessed hope. But the story is actually really big. The story is huge. It's huge. And um, we haven't been told the whole story. And for most of us, if we believed in a pre-tribulation rapture, we believed, and I used to be a pre-trib rapture person. The belief was that um, that we would be gone, that we're not going to see any of that. We're not going to see any of the bad stuff that we read about in Revelation. We'll be gone. Well, we're going to be here for some of it. Okay. And that's sort of the bad news for, people who kind of clung to the hope that we won't be here for any of the bad stuff, but we will. And the Bible talks about it. Okay, so aren't I a pre-trib rapture person? um, because I don't believe in a 7-year tribulation, I don't call it pre-trib. I tend to call it a pre-seal or a pre-trumpet. Rapture will be gone before any seals are broken or any trumpets are blown. So that part. I don't call it pre-trib though, because a tribulation implies a 7-year tribulation. And later on in this video that I'm doing, we're going to see how the Revelation actually encompasses more than 7 years. So anyway, so here's the deal. Most of the really bad stuff that involves the fallen angels, demons, the earth dwellers, the hybrids, most of that stuff that we read about in Revelation, it's all through the pages of Revelation. This is stuff that's sort of, relegated to a footnote in most people's eschatology, but it actually is like one of the biggest parts of the story. It's actually, it's kind of like the story. It's sort of like the story. And the thing is, it's only when we understand the big picture of Revelation that we're going to really be able to place this invasion into the end time story. And the invasion I'm talking about here is actually, it's the invasion of fallen angels of various kinds, and how they're going to end up here on the earth, controlling the earth underneath Satan and the beast. Okay, this is the deal. This earth is going to be under the control of and invaded by every fallen entity, every fallen spirit that has existed ever throughout time. That's whether they're in heaven, they're on earth, or wherever they are under the earth, they're all going to be congregating here on earth during the last times. Okay, during the end days, they're going to all be here. Now, I don't know if any of you have taken the time, or you know of people who think about what is the earth going to be like when every single fallen angel is here, when Satan is here, when the beast who is risen from the dead is indwelt by Apollyon. He's here. The false prophet's here. Every demon, all the hybrids, and angels who've been bound in the pit, and angels who are currently bound under the river Euphrates. Every single one of them is on the earth. Okay, this is, Dallas Puckett. Yeah, I can see where you say they're already here. They're actually not already here. They are not already here, because there's parts of them that are here. This world is full of demonically controlled people, absolutely demonically controlled people. But the demons are low level. Demons are low level. They are not high level spirit beings. Okay, they're not high level. They're low level. And any kind of earth dweller or hybrid being, okay, they're fairly low level too. The high level spirit beings are the ones that are in the pit right now. They're the ones that are bound in the pit. And they're bound in the pit in chains, according to Jude verse 6. They're being kept there until the great day. That is the day of the Lord. They're being kept there in chains because they are so bad. They are so bad. And probably the only spirit beings, the only angels that are worse than the angels in the bottomless pit are the 4 angels that are bound at the river Euphrates, who will be released at the 6th trumpet to kill 1/3 of mankind. All right. So when Jesus talked about the days of Noah, most of the people that I listen to periodically, in the when they talk about the days of Noah, they talk about violence on the earth and immorality and so on. But when Jesus talked about the days of Noah, that the end time would be like the days of Noah, He wasn't talking about that kind of thing. He wasn't talking about it wasn't a reference to, violence and, people being immoral and so on. He was talking about what was going on during the days of Noah. And of course, that's the Genesis 6 stuff, right? That's when the sons of God entered into marriage arrangements with the daughters of men. Okay. So when Jesus talks about the days of Noah, he's not talking about violence. He's talking about an incursion of fallen angels. They're intermarrying with human women that led to the creation of the Nephilim. Right? So this is the things that are going to be happening, the things that we read about in the book of Revelation are this story. It's when all of these fallen beings are here on earth. Okay. When the ones that are in the pit are now back, they're back. Okay, they're back. This is going to be so bad. Jesus said it's worse than the days of Noah. It's worse than the days of Noah, because the days of Noah, I think, were about 120 years between the time that Noah got his commission to build the ark and when the flood came. During the end times, it's 3.5 years or thereabouts. And if those days weren't shortened, nobody would survive. No person would survive. So this is a huge story, and it's one that people aren't really talking about very much. That this invasion that's coming is an invasion of the earth by fallen angels. So when Jesus talked about in Matthew 24:38 about this future invasion, this future incursion of fallen angels, he said, "For as in those days before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage until the day when Noah entered the ark." Who was marrying and giving in marriage during the days of Noah? Well, that was the fallen angels. They were marrying human women. Genesis 6:1 and 2. Now, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took wives. Okay, they took wives, whomever they chose. They took wives. They were marrying these people, these women. Okay, so what is going to be happening during the end times is similar. It's not exactly. These angels that are going to be coming back are not going to be marrying this time. They're not going to be having a marriage arrangement with human women. It's going to be different, but there's going to be similarity there. Okay. So the fallen angels, that are in the pit are the ones that were here during the days of Noah. They were put in the pit. They didn't keep their own domain. It says in Jude 6, they abandoned their proper dwelling. Okay. The only other time that word dwelling is used in the New Testament is when Paul talks about our dwelling, our new heavenly body that we're going to be getting from the Lord, our immortal body. So they left their own domain. They abandoned their proper dwelling. That is, it was okay for angels to assume a human form, and a lot of angels did it, but they weren't supposed to keep it. They were supposed to go back into their own domain again in their angelic body and not keep this human body. Anyway, they've been kept in chains under darkness, bound for the judgment on the great day. And Revelation chapter 9 talks about when they're going to be released. That's at the fifth trumpet. And it's going to be kind of a surprise to them, I think, because I think that the next thing they saw that they thought that they were going to be seeing was the time of judgment when they would be cast into the lake of fire, but actually they're being let loose by an angel who's been given a key to the bottomless pit. So a question here, will we receive our glorified bodies when the demons show up? Actually, no. No. I'm going to read the order of events here. Okay. And we really don't get our glorified bodies till we are in heaven. God is the one who gives us our glorified bodies. We get an immortal body on earth, but we will get a glorified body in heaven. And then I'll answer the question, will Christians have authority over these demons? Christians always have authority over all the power of the enemy. So yes, this is not a problem. This is not a problem for Christians, because if you're a spirit-filled Christian, Jesus has given us authority over the enemy. So let's talk about these invasions. There's actually going to be 4 waves of satanic invasion, 4 waves of them, right? The very first wave is found in Revelation chapter 12. And this is something that most of us really don't understand. Revelation chapter 12, if you listen to, most people teaching on Revelation 12, it's not very, they're not very precise about it. And Revelation 12 is one of the most precise prophecies that is in the book of Revelation. It's so precise, and it gives us the whole time frame, basically from the Revelation 12 sign in 2017 through the end of 1,260 days that the woman is in the wilderness. It's that whole time frame, which if Jesus comes back in 2028, the amount of time between the Revelation 12 sign and the second coming of Christ is 11 years. Okay. Got an itchy nose. So, God wants us to know about these things because they're going to be happening in our lifetime. These things are going to be happening, and we haven't really been adequately prepared for this stuff, because for many, many, many decades and centuries, Satan has wanted Christians to not even believe that he exists, that he's just symbolic of evil in general, that he's not a real person, that demons don't really exist, that there is no real supernatural world, that the supernatural world doesn't exist, that our Christian life is all about our best life now and not about the second coming of Christ and what we have in store when Jesus comes back. This has not really been much of an emphasis. So somebody asked me, and I'm probably going to be repeating myself here, and that is, somebody asked me, why do we need to know this stuff? Well, if you believe that you're going to be raptured out of here before anything happens, before anything else happens, before there's a huge war in Israel, before there's any kind of invasion, so on and so forth, well, you don't really think that you have to know this stuff because you're going to be gone before any bad stuff happens. But Revelation 12 does not give us that assurance that we will be gone in a rapture before anything bad happens, before we see anything that's spiritually like startling. Okay. Revelation 12 is one of the most precise prophecies in the book of Revelation. And all really the key to unlocking Revelation 12 is really understanding the symbols. And we're going to go over that in this video too. But God wants us to know what's going to happen because we're actually going to be here for a lot of it. We're going to be here for really for a lot of it. And we need to know what's going to happen so this doesn't take us by surprise. Amos 3:7, the Lord God does nothing without revealing his secrets to his servants, the prophets. And we've had the revelation of Jesus Christ given to us by God the Father so we can know these things. Jesus said in John 15:15, no longer do I call you servants, for a servant does not understand what his master is doing. But I've called you friends because everything I've learned from my Father, I've made known to you. We are being brought into the inner circle of God. We're being brought into the inner circle where all the cool information is, where all the inside story is. Okay. It's it's like we're being made privy to things that the other people in the world don't have a clue about. But these are things that we can know because God has told us. Genesis 18:17. This is what God said. And the Lord said, shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do? This was when he was going to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. And the Lord said, Abraham's my friend. Okay, I'm kind of paraphrasing here. Abraham's my friend. Should I hide from him the things that I'm about to do? And the answer is no. I'm going to let him know what I'm about to do. And so then there was this little dialogue about, saving Sodom for the sake of 50 righteous people and going on down to 10, and there weren't 10, just Lot and his family. But the book of Revelation, the very first verse and the very first chapter, the revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave him. God gave this revelation, this mystery, to show his servants the things that must soon take place. And he made it known by sending his servant to John. Okay, so God wants us to know these things. He wants us to understand what the plan is so that when things start happening, we can actually be an active participant in a knowledgeable way and not be standing around with our mouth open wondering what the heck is going on. We're supposed to be here for and we're supposed to know things so we can help other people, and so we ourselves are not going to be distracted or intimidated by the things that we see. And really, Satan, he wants to intimidate God's people. He wants to make us feel afraid, to make us feel unloved and intimidated. And if you know what's going on and you know your authority in Christ, you will not be intimidated by the things that are coming. Okay, you'll be able to stand strong. You'll know exactly what's going on. You'll have the Holy Spirit power to be able to face the wind, as it were, to be able to go into those days with boldness and victory. Boldness and victory. Okay, so the book of Revelation describes several waves of invasion that come from the enemy, that come from fallen angels, okay, where fallen angels are being displaced from other places, whether it's the pit or heaven, and they're being placed on the earth, okay? And this is going to come in waves. They don't all end up on the surface of the earth at one time. And what I want to look at really quickly, and I'm going to leave links to some of my videos in the description box where I talk about the Revelation 12 sign. That Revelation 12 was the wrecking ball of modern eschatology. People have to do something with the Revelation 12 sign, okay? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Revelation chapter 12, verses 1 and 2, say this, that a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. She was pregnant and was crying out in birth pains and the agony of giving birth. Okay, and the agony of giving birth. We're talking about an astronomical alignment here. It's a woman, that's Virgo, clothed with the sun, that gives us the month. Okay, so we're in the fall. That's when Virgo is clothed with the sun. There is a crown of 12 stars over her head. That is the 9 stars of Leo, plus the 3 wandering planets, Mercury, Mars, and Venus. And she was pregnant with child and about to deliver. That tells us that she's at the end of her pregnancy, and Jupiter had been in the womb of Virgo for over 9 months. Okay, so that was this alignment, and many people have said it's a once in 7,000 year alignment. Some people have said it's happened, some version of that has happened more often. Nevertheless, it happened on the 70th anniversary of Israel being a nation. Okay, and remember, from the fall of 1947 to 48 was that Hebrew year when Israel became a nation, and the Revelation 12 sign happened in 2017. So that's 70 years. Very significant. So a lot of us were thinking, oh, the rapture, that must be when the rapture is going to take place. But the rapture didn't take place. So what was that great sign all about? It's called a great sign. What was that all about? It wasn't about us being raptured. Okay, the rapture is actually part of the second sign. The first, the great sign is actually a marker in time. And what it does is it places us right in the book of Revelation. Okay, you can actually put a date next to Revelation chapter 12 verses 1 and 2. You can put September 23rd, 2017. And what it does is it's a moment in time that we can start saying that we are in the book of Revelation, that we're here now. And what are we waiting for? Right now, we're waiting for the second sign. The second sign, which is the sign of the dragon. Now, a lot of people think, oh, if the first sign was in the sun, moon, and stars, then obviously the second sign is in the sun, moon, and stars. But it's not. Okay, the second sign is symbolic of events that are going to take place, including our rapture and the first wave invasion of fallen angels. Okay, the first wave of invasion of fallen angels. So this is what it says in Revelation 12. I'm going to read 3 and 4. And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great red dragon with 7 heads and 10 horns, and on his heads 7 diadems. And his tail swept down a third of the stars of heaven and cast them to the earth. Now, one of the things that people have done, and I've heard this, I've heard this from a lot of Bible teachers, and it's to me, it's like people have had these little blinders put over their eyes, and they were told what they're supposed to see here. They're told what they're supposed to see. What you're supposed to see is that back in the day, in ages past, Satan fell and he took a third of the angels with him. Okay, now that's Catholic. That's Catholic doctrine, by the way. Okay, that came out of the Catholic Church, and I think Augustine, and a bunch of these people from way back. This is not what it's saying, though. You have to actually take those blinders off. Take those blinders off and read what it says. It says that we have this great red dragon, and his tail swept down a third of the stars of heaven and cast them to the earth. Okay, who is casting stars to the earth? It's not Michael. This is not the war in heaven. It's not Michael. This is Satan. And Satan does not have power over all of God's angels. He can't randomly say, oh, I'm just going to take a third of all those angels up there and cast them to the earth. He only has control over his angels, the ones that followed him. And we know that some did. And he's going to basically divide up his army into thirds. He's going to send a third of them to the earth. This is the first wave of the invasion. He's going to keep 2/3 of them in heaven, because there's a battle that's going to be fought in heaven too. There's a war in heaven that is going to be waged that we read about later in Revelation 12. And then it says that the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth. Who's the woman? Okay, who is the woman? The woman is Israel. How do we know that? Because later on in the chapter, we read that the woman is going to flee into the wilderness. The woman is Israel, the remnant of Israel. Now, people will say, well, before I say that, let's finish reading the verse here. The dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, so that when she bore her child, he might devour it. And she gave birth to a male child, one who's to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And let's stop right there. The woman is going to give birth to a male child. Now, this is where people get a little, where they get, I don't know. I don't really know the word here. A little confused, maybe, or they start conflating things. Maybe that's the word. But the woman gives birth to a male child. And this is her firstborn. Okay, this is the one who's going to rule. It's the firstborn that rules, right? And as believers, we are children of Abraham. Okay, a lot of people think, well, if the woman is Israel, and later on I'm going to talk about how the male child is our believers. Well, we're not Jewish, we're not of Israel, but actually we have the faith of Abraham. Okay, so that's how we get grafted in to the nation of Israel. Okay, that's how we get grafted in. So we are actually a part of what the woman gives birth to. Okay, so she gave birth to a male child. And what does that mean? Okay, for this woman to give birth to the male child. Okay, and yes, a lot of people think we're talking about Mary and Jesus. And the fact is, I've heard a lot of prophecy teachers teach that the woman is Mary, okay, and that she gave birth to Jesus. But if you start going through the symbolism on this, Jesus was never caught up to God and to his throne as a baby. He went into Egypt, okay, but he was never caught up to God and to his throne as a baby. And even then, when the time came for him to ascend, he didn't ascend into heaven because he thought he was going to be devoured by Satan. Okay, so this is not about Jesus. Okay, the symbolism doesn't work. This is about a male child, a firstborn who is going to rule. Now we know that the symbol for believers in Revelation 1, I think it's verse 5 or 6, where it talks about how through the blood of Christ we've been made into a kingdom of priests. In Revelation 4 and 5, we see these people in the throne room where this child is caught up to God and to his throne, and they're wearing golden crowns and they're sitting on thrones in God's presence. So we know Revelation is not chronological. There is a sequence to events, but it's not laid out in chapters, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's not chronological. Okay, so this woman gives birth to a male child. What does that mean? Well, that's when we actually receive our immortal bodies. That's when we are changed in the twinkling of an eye. In the twinkling of an eye, we will receive our immortal bodies on earth. The dead in Christ, who are part of the kingdom of priests who are going to rule and reign with Christ, will receive their immortal bodies in heaven. Okay, and once we're caught up to God and to his throne, once we're raptured, then we will be glorified. Okay, the change will happen here on earth. And then it says that she gave birth to a male child, one who's to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up. That's harpazo. That's harpazo, caught up to God and to his throne. And then it says, then the woman fled into the wilderness where she has a place prepared by God in which to be nourished for 1,260 days. Okay, so we know that the child will be brought to a place of safety in heaven, and the woman will have a place of safety on the earth for 3.5 years, 1,260 days. Now, a lot of people go, well, that must happen immediately after the child is caught up. Well, no, because Revelation 12, the rest of it is going to tell us exactly when the woman flees into the wilderness. And it's not going to be until after the war in heaven. All right. Now, the war in heaven is one of those things that are going to happen. And it will happen, I believe, at the same time as the 10 days of tribulation that happen on earth where the fifth seal martyrs are killed. Okay. All right. So this is a very precise prophecy, and it tells us about that God is going, or that Satan is going to take and cast a third of the stars to the earth, a third of his angels. This is the first invasion of fallen angels. And it's going to happen in the context of a war in Israel. Okay. And I believe the Bible talks about the travail of the woman. Okay, the travail of the woman. We read that and we just gloss over it. Okay, we gloss over it and we think, oh yeah. I mean, I don't even know what we think. It's just, I mean, we don't think that it means anything in particular, but it does. The war in Israel, and I believe that we're in the beginning labor pains of the war that's going to end up with our transformation and rapture. I'm going to read some passages that talk about what travail symbolizes. What travail symbolizes. Jeremiah 4:31. For I heard a cry as of a woman in labor, anguish as of one giving birth to her first child. The cry of the daughter of Zion, gasping for breath, stretching out her hands. Woe is me, I'm fainting as before murderers. Okay, this is symbolizing the nation of Israel. Okay, and this is back in the Babylonian captivity. This is when this was written, and this was when Nebuchadnezzar was coming and invading them, and it was, to them, it was like labor. Jeremiah 30:5-7. Ask now and see, can a man bear a child? Why then do I see every man with his hands on his stomach like a woman in labor? And why has every face turned pale? Alas, that day is so great, there is none like it. It is a time of distress for Jacob. Okay, this is a terrible war that is happening in Israel. Okay, Revelation 12, the woman in travail. Travail is when people, let me find my my notes here. 4, 5, there it is. Jeremiah 13:21. What will you say when they set as head over you those whom you yourself have taught to be friends to you? Will not pangs take hold of you like those of a woman in labor? Okay, a woman in labor is symbolic of invasion or war or serious calamity. Okay, there's going to be a serious invasion of Israel. And at the same time, there is going to be the first wave of invasion of fallen angels to the earth. And then we'll be changed from mortal to immortal. And then on the 8th day, which is the day the male child is officially presented to God, that's when we will be brought into heaven and glorified. Okay. And the 8th day is also the day when priests who were ordained began their ministry. Okay. And that's what we see in Revelation 5. They're holding the golden bowls of incense and praying for people on earth. Okay. So the first invasion, the first wave is going to be the third of the angels who are cast to the earth at the same time Israel is in the very, very worst part of the war. Then we'll be changed, and then on the eighth day, we'll be brought into heaven. That's when our rapture takes place. So that's the first wave of the invasion is in conjunction or right around the time of our change in rapture. The second wave of invasion is going to be on the fifth trumpet, and that's when there's an angel that falls from heaven with the key to the bottomless pit. And what'll happen is he will open that pit and it will look like a jailbreak for the people or for the entities that are in the pit. The entities in the pit. And they will burst forth on the earth, and that will be 5 months before the abomination of desolation. Okay, so that's the second invasion. The third invasion will be at the end of the war in heaven when Satan and all his angels are cast to the earth. Okay, they're all brought to the earth. The ones in the pit are all coming up out of the pit. The ones in heaven all come to the earth. They will never be able to go back again. And the dragon, Satan, will be on the earth. And the day that he arrives, he stands on the sand of the sea. It says in Revelation 13:1, or the last verse of chapter 12, he's waiting for the resurrection of his son from the sea. And the final wave of invasion is on the day of the abomination of desolation. And that is the sixth trumpet as well. That's the hour, day, month, and year when a third of mankind is destroyed. And that is when the 4 angels that are being kept at the river Euphrates are released. And then every single fallen angel will be on the face of the earth, along with the hybrids, along with the false prophet, along with all the demons and the demonically infested people on the earth. If we think it's bad now, we ain't seen nothing yet. And we're just going to see a taste of it before we're out of here. All right, so let me just find some of these questions here and see if I can give you some answers here. Do the dead rise before we are changed? Okay, well, this is a tricky question. To rise from the dead actually means you're resurrected into your body. Okay, it doesn't mean that you're raptured. Okay, to rise does not mean raptured. To rise from the dead means you're going to be resurrected. If you're a believer, okay, our resurrected bodies are not on the earth. We are not going to get a resurrected body made out of the dust of the ground. 1 Corinthians 15 tells us that we're going to have a heavenly body, a celestial body. And I think it's 1 Corinthians. Let me see if I can find it here. 2 Corinthians chapter, I think it's 5. Yeah. Corinthians chapter 5 talks about our resurrection bodies. Okay. The dead will receive a resurrection body at the same time we receive a resurrection body or an immortal body. 2 Corinthians 5:1, for we know that if the earthly tent we live in is destroyed, we have a building from God, a house not made with hands, eternal in the heavens. Okay, our eternal body is not on earth. It's in heaven. So it's a heavenly body. It's not an earthly body. It's not made out of the cursed ground of the earth. So the teaching that's out there is that, Christ comes to the clouds, then the spirit, and he brings the spirits of the dead in Christ with him, and then they go into the ground. They get a body from the dust of the ground, are resurrected into that, and meet the Lord in the air. And then Christians meet the Lord in the air and everybody goes up. Okay, wrong. That is not correct. That is not correct at all. Christians the spirits of the dead in Christ do not come to the earth to get a resurrected body. Okay, bodies are eternal in heaven. And then it says in verse 2 of 2 Corinthians 5, for here indeed we groan and long to put on our heavenly dwelling, so that by putting it on, we may not be found naked. That is, just be in a spirit, but that we will have a body. 1 Corinthians 15 talks about, our death, our bodies, our present dead bodies, we have bodies of death, right? Being swallowed up by life. They're going to be swallowed up by life. 1 Corinthians 15:51. Lo, I tell you a mystery, we shall not all sleep. Okay, the mystery is not the rapture, that we're going to be caught up. That's what most people teach about this, that the mystery is the rapture. The mystery isn't the rapture. The mystery is that living people will get an immortal body apart from dying. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. Okay, that's the Roman victory trumpet that sounded when victory is obtained. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised imperishable, and we shall be changed. Remember, raised does not mean caught up. Raised means you're given a resurrection body. So the same time that the dead are given a resurrection body in heaven, we're given ours here on earth. When the perishable, verse 53, for this perishable nature must put on the imperishable, and this mortal nature must put on immortality. And when the perishable puts on the imperishable, and the mortal puts on immortality, then shall come to pass the saying that is written, death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is thy victory? O death, where is thy sting? Okay, so we'll be given victory over death. The dead the dead receive their immortal bodies at the same time we do. Now, when First Thessalonians 4 talks about the dead rising first, then we who are alive and remain alive and survive is what that means. It's used twice. Those who are alive and survive. And I've done whole videos on this, several of them. One of them is, did Paul teach a pre-wrath rapture? Okay, this group of survivors, those who are alive and survive until the coming of the Lord, okay, the coming of the Lord is not the beginning of a 7-year tribulation. The coming of the Lord is when the day of the Lord begins, when the wrath of God is poured out on the beast and the beast kingdom. There are believers who are going to be here until the coming of the Lord, after the man of sin is revealed, but before the second coming of Christ. Okay, so I've done a lot of videos on immortality, resurrection bodies, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, and those are all videos that I would recommend to you where I talk about that. So, okay, so I see one from Rue here. Can I talk about Lucifer versus Satan versus the dragon? Is this the same individual or different? I think we're talking about the same individual. Lucifer was who he was before he fell. Lucifer was the one who was in the garden of God, the Garden of Eden, when he originally had dominion over the earth. He fell, and Satan is more of a descriptor for him. He's the accuser of the brethren. He's the accuser, which is what that means. And symbolically, he's portrayed as the dragon in the book of Revelation. Revelation 12 says that, calls him that ancient serpent, the devil and the dragon, the devil and Satan. Okay, so all of those are descriptors or names for the same fallen angel. Okay. So, Mateo, why would we see angels? Aren't they spirits? Oh, that is such a good question. That is such a good question. When angels come to the earth, they actually have bodies. Okay, they're not like invisible. You can see them. Mary saw the angel Gabriel. Daniel saw the angel Gabriel plus other angels. When the Lord came with 2 angels to visit Abraham, they actually had a meal together, and they were all in bodies. So I think that's the deal there. They'll be visible, okay? They're not gonna be invisible. Um, do I think that the mRNA gene therapy jab has something to do with taking peace from the earth? Um, I don't think there's a direct connection there. I think that when peace is taken from the earth, I think what we're gonna see are people killing one another. They're killing one another violently, with swords and rocks and beating each other up. There's going to be, wars between nations and, ethnicities and religious, divides, and any way that Satan has divided people, people will come against each other. Okay, so, um, I don't have a lot of good things to say about that mRNA thing. I think it's wicked, evil. I think it's from the dark side, and I think there's very nefarious reasons for it. Part of it is more the depopulation, I think, that has to do with pestilence and plagues that are, gonna be part of the black horse rider with the and the gr or the green horse rider, the pale horse. Okay. So do and by the way, I just wanna say this, okay, and that is that all 4 horses ride basically at the same time. Because if you've got a war or peace being taken from the earth, you automatically have famines. They're built into it, and along with famine is built in cholera and dysentery and all kinds of diseases that go along with it, and death. So the first 4 horsemen all ride together, okay? Same day. They're released on the same day. Okay, do I see Russia, Turkey, Iran axis coming together? Yes, I do. I do see that coming together. Oh my goodness, it's right there. You know, it's right there. Yes, and I think that is I think the travail of the woman is going to be that um Magog alliance that we read about in Revelation, or not Revelation, Ezekiel 38. Okay. Do I think that peace being taken from the earth is a feeling? No, I think it's, well, yes, it will result in a feeling, but it's going to be bloodshed. A fourth of the earth is going to be affected, and many, 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 many people are going to die. It's not just I feel bad. It's and I don't have peace in my heart. It's that you're dying. People will die, not you and me, but people on earth. Okay, so Revelation 13:5, the beast blasphemes God, his name, his tabernacle, and them that dwell in heaven. Can I comment? Yes, by the time the beast gets here and begins to reign, which is basically at the time of the abomination of desolation, almost every single Christian is gonna be in heaven. And they are heaven dwellers now. They have heavenly bodies. They're heaven dwellers. And the beast and the earth dwellers are going to blaspheme, speak evil about, speak ill about not just God, but everybody who's a Christian who's in heaven. Okay, so that's my comment to that. Okay, here's the question. How bad do I think it will get before we are taken? It's hard to say. It's hard to say, and I don't know that I really want to say, because I can really only guess, and there are weapons out there that haven't really been used they've been used in small ways, and then there's certain things that have never been used at all, and we have no idea. And here in America, we've kinda got this exceptionalism idea that somehow or another we're not gonna be really phased or touched by any of this. But you have to understand that with a war in the Middle East, you know it's going to involve, um, oil and shipment of oil. and energy. That's gonna go away, and the whole world is mad at the United States. China doesn't like us, Russia. We have so many enemies, and they're powerful enemies, and we somehow think that we're gonna get out of this without a lot of problems. There hasn't been a widespread EMP that's been conducted anywhere, but I think we can expect that. I think we can expect the grid going down. I think we can expect all the things that go with that before before we're gone. And this is part of the reason why I'm doing these live streams, why I'm kinda getting out there a little bit more. It's because we're just not ready. Most Christians have no idea what's coming. They think we're just gonna be, it's gonna be a sunny day, we're gonna be gone, and then you know, then the Antichrist comes on the scene and there's some kind of, covenant and blah, blah, blah. The fact is, it is not going to be like that. The day we leave is the day the first four trumpets, or first four and maybe five trumpets sound, and the first four seals are opened. It's bad right from the start. There is no 7-year peace covenant that's broken in the middle. Okay. It's going to get bad, right? And you know, sort of be prepared for the worst. Yeah, and someone else is commenting, yes, that nobody else talks about that there's Hamas cells in the US. Yes, there's Hamas, there's Hezbollah, there's all kinds of sleeper cells. It's things are going to get very bad, but not as bad as they're going to be after we're gone. Is this the wicked generation that scripture mentions? I guess I would have to know which scripture you're talking about. Um, so in order to answer that question. Okay. All right. Okay, Betty's question. Why don't mainstream churches know all this? Well, the reason why is because they're mainstream churches. Okay. Any mainstream church belongs to a denomination, and denominations have fixed topics of study. They have doctrines that they hold to. And if you're going to be a pastor or some kind of person that's in leadership in a mainline denominational church, you have to teach you know, what you were taught in your denomination. You can't change. And the fact is, most people who come out of mainline denominational churches don't want to change. They don't know that there's anything wrong with what they're teaching. And they're not really open to something else. Okay. And yeah, they do answer to a hierarchy. There is a hierarchical structure. Okay. So, but that's a really great question. And there's a lot of I don't know. To me, it's just a tragedy that people are so steeped in tradition that they really can't see. It's like kind of a blindness that comes on people. All right. Okay, and so, as far as how bad will it really get, and the timing, do I think it'll be summer? Do I think this will boil over into the whole world or just the Middle East? This is gonna boil over into the whole world because it's going to affect us in the United States. I believe that there's a coming economic collapse that's going to be really, really bad, and it's going to affect all of us. And if it affects, remember, the dollar is the world reserve currency. If it affects us at home, it'll affect the whole world. Should we be preppers? Well, I think everybody should have something set aside, whether it's, and I do the kind of the threes, 3 days, 3 weeks, or 3 months. So you can start off with 3 days of, food, water, medicine, dog food, whatever. And once you've got 3 days, then go for the 3 weeks. And then once you've got 3 weeks of everything, 3 months, and I don't think there's any point in going beyond that. So, um, okay, so Deb Ebhart, will I be doing something on the Holy Spirit, power of the Word and God? Will we not have to fight demons, etc.? Okay, I did a video, and I better write this down or I'll forget to link it, on the travels of Elijah with Elisha, and the places that they went before Elijah and Elisha crossed over the Jordan and Elijah was caught up. Okay, all of those names there are symbolic. Gilgal is where they started out from, I think, and then they went to Jericho and over the Jordan. Okay, and I'm missing one, but anyway, there's four names, and they symbolically represent our when we're going to be transferring our ministry over to the 144,000 before we are caught up, like Elijah was caught up, and then the mantle goes on Elisha, who now takes over the ministry. There's a transfer of ministry there. So we won't actually be having to fight because the symbolism there is actually that of Jericho. Jericho, the city of Jericho, God fought that battle for them. All they did was walk around quietly, quietly, once around the city. And then on the seventh day, they went around 7 times. And then with a shout, they went up. Okay. So this is the battle, the first fruits battle. Jericho was everything in Jericho was devoted to the Lord because it was the first fruits city in the promised land. It belonged to God. And the first fruits belong to God. And this is a first fruits. Every male child that opens the womb is a first fruits to God. Okay. And so this is a battle that we don't actually have to fight. We just have to be quiet. We just have to be quiet and trust the Lord. So I'll leave a link to that video series. I think there was 3 videos in that series. It was really encouraging to me. I knew there was something meaningful in the names of those places that Elijah and Elisha traveled to on their way across the Jordan when Elijah was going to be caught up. How do I think angels feel about us? Well, I think that the good angels, God's angels, I think they have an affection for us. I think they respect what God is doing in our life, and I think they have an affection for us. And the wicked angels absolutely hate us. They hate us because we're going to be replacing them in the divine council. Okay. Okay, so this is a really great question too. So we're talking about a 7 days when a firstborn son is with its mom, and then on the 8th day it's presented to God. Okay, so and the same thing is true about the priest. The priest has an ordination. He's 7 days in the doorway between the people and the tabernacle of Moses, but it's on the 8th day that he goes into the tabernacle and begins his service to God. So this 7-8 day thing is a pattern, and I've done a lot of videos on that. So that's why we're here for 7 days in our immortal body, our birthday, our new birth body. And then on the 8th day is when we're presented to God. The 144,000, same thing. They're going to be given an immortal body. And it'll be over the spring, though. Theirs is more associated with Passover time. And then on their 8th day, they also will be raptured. They will go from Mount Zion, okay, which is where the temple is. And then the next thing you know, they're in heaven and they're singing their song before God. The third rapture group will also have 7 days, but it's not on earth. Okay. They are going to be caught up on and without any warning. Okay. It's going to be a window of time, sometime after the abomination of desolation, but before, before the sixth trumpet. And they're just going to be caught up, which is kind of why we see them in what we would consider the outer courts. They're standing by the sea. Okay. Remember the laver, the sea was where the priests would wash themselves. And they have harps, they're worshiping, okay, but they're out there. They can't go into the temple part proper where God's throne is because they have to wait. Okay. So I think some of them will indeed be brought into the presence of God and be glorified, and some of them may not be. Okay, because not everybody is going to end up as a priest or king. Okay, but they will be worshipers. Okay, so I hope I answered that. Okay, so when will things start getting bad? Well, I think they're already starting to get bad. It all depends on where you live. If you're in Ukraine or you're in Gaza, you're in Israel, things are already bad. It all depends on that. But yes, it's going to get worse, and I'm not looking forward to this summer. I think things are going to start getting hard this summer, and by fall they should be really bad. And that is, of course, if our rapture is this year, then things will start getting really bad in the fall. All right. So, how do we explain earth dwellers or hybrids to other believers? Well, that's a hard one. That's a hard one because most believers are really untaught on Genesis 6. They don't know anything about it. And if they have been taught on it, well, most believers are just pretty much Bible illiterates. They really don't know their Bible. They don't read their Bible. They only know what the preacher preaches on Sunday, and they might know from some Bible study they've been in, but they don't, they're basically illiterate. So people don't realize that, that there's even a lot of Christians don't even believe in Satan. Okay. It's crazy. It's just an evil force or whatever. There isn't a personal Satan, but there actually is a personal Satan, Lucifer, whatever you want to call him. And there are, in the Old Testament days, there were hybrids. That this is something that can be done, is hybridization. And if some being is a hybrid, they're not fully human. They're not considered human. Honestly, I don't really even know how to explain earth dwellers or hybrids to other believers without getting into the woo-woo stuff. And most Christians, they just don't want to know about it. Okay. And they think it's stupid and silly. And, they're happy to go to Marvel movies and stuff like that, or believe in aliens even, but not believe that there can be people who are passing themselves off as humans when they're really not. So, if somebody comes up with a good way to explain hybrids or earth dwellers, shoot me an email or leave a comment. Okay, why do I think that the church and other watchers don't see the typology of the male child being changed before the rapture? I'll tell you why. It's because the symbolism for who is raptured has been changed, and I think this is demonic. Actually, this is a satanic thing. And remember, you don't have to tell a full-blown lie. You can just tweak the truth a little bit, or put the emphasis in the wrong place, and now basically what you've come up with is something that isn't the truth. So what am I saying? I'm saying that we've been taught that the bride is raptured, okay, that the bride is raptured and goes to a wedding supper in heaven. when if you read Revelation, the bride comes down from heaven, but she's being built by every group of believers that comes into heaven. They're being added to this group, and the bride does not appear until about the time of the wedding, Revelation 22. So we've been taught it is raptured, and the second thing is we've been taught that the church is raptured. There's no passage that says that either the or the church are raptured. But what we do see are sons being raptured, okay, the male child, the 144,000 of Israel. That's what we see. But we've already been pre-programmed to believe something else, and that's why it's so hard to see something new. Okay, when the programming is all about the rapture of the bride or the rapture of the church. That's, even though there's multiple symbols of, priests and kings and lepers and sons having 7 days and then an 8th day before they're presented to God or can go into the temple or begin the service or, are cleansed or whatever. So many shadows of it, but yet these are things that to most people seem irrelevant. And most people teach that as we're being caught up, as we're being raptured, we're being changed. That it's the same thing. The change and the rapture are the same thing, which is how this has been taught from 1 Corinthians 15, that it's in the twinkling of an eye that we'll be raptured. No, it's in twinkling of an eye we're changed. Okay. It doesn't say anything about the rapture in that passage, and the rapture isn't a mystery either. So the symbols that we use are unbiblical, and the types and shadows, we don't even know how to insert some of these things, and so that's why people can't see it. And people were handed, you and I and most people out there were actually handed an eschatology, and we're told this is how it is. And so people have verses for everything, and so it all seems nice and tidy. And we're not encouraged to ask questions, and we're not encouraged to look at things differently. And pastors aren't either. They really aren't. And if you go to a pastor with new information, they'll pretty much shut you down, especially if they've got a strong belief in a certain kind of eschatology. So, yeah. All right, let's just see if we got a couple more questions here. Do I think something will happen on May 18th to 19th, 40 days after the eclipse? I think it's possible. Yeah, I think that's possible. I don't know what, but I'm kind of looking for something interesting to happen anyway. All right. So does any of this leading to the rapture this fall make you personally nervous? Mine is, what would the transformation feel like? Okay, to be transformed from mortal to immortal will feel awesome. Okay, awesome. All of a sudden, you're just going to feel so at home. The person that God always knew you would be and could be, there you are. So that's great. But does it make me a little nervous? Yeah, it does. I get a little nervous. I get a little nervous because most people are unaware. Yeah. Okay. All right. So any other question before we leave? Will any fallen angels be in human form? I think they all will. I think they all will. I think that when Satan is cast out of heaven, I think he is going to show up as an angel of light, and that he will look like God the Father coming down to dwell with men. And his fake son, the Antichrist, will show up and he'll have glory. The dragon is going to give the Antichrist his power, his throne, and his great authority. Okay. And all of, to make it impressive, you've got to have all of these angels all shining in glory. Okay. Shining and glory and power. This is the great deception. It's that God has, the dwelling place of God is with men. Yeah. That Satan is the God. This is his son who's risen from the dead and is now, seated on the Ark of the Covenant, in the temple of God. He is God. And then the false prophet comes along, the fake Holy Spirit. And yes, I think all the angels are going to be seen. However, I think the fallen angels that come out of the pit, I believe they can be seen too, but they are the ones that are going to want to have human bodies, okay, so that they can be humans with a fallen angel spirit inside of them, like Apollyon is going to indwell the beast that ascends from the beast that ascends from the bottomless pit is going to indwell the man who rises from the dead. Okay, so why would the U.S. be affected too, and not just Israel? Because everything has to collapse. Okay, this is the thing. Everything has to collapse. The monetary system has to collapse. All governments have to collapse. Everything has to collapse so that when the beast comes in, he can reign over the rubble. Okay, the United States is not going to survive this. No nation, the United States is it's a big part of the harlot, okay? The harlot hierarchical controlling power system that's in the world right now. And at the very least, at the sixth trumpet, the abomination of desolation, the beast and the 10 kings hate the harlot, and they're going to destroy her with fire, smoke, and sulfur. The U.S. is going to collapse. If the rapture is this fall, the U.S. will not exist as of April 19th, 2025. And that's how that goes. We're not going to be left out. Okay. All right. Okay. How does someone know if they go in the first harpazo? If you love Jesus and you're faithful, you'll go. That's it. I'm not saying you have to do all these great works or do anything like that. I'm just saying, just like in a marriage, you don't have to be a perfect wife. You don't have to be a perfect husband, but you promise that you'll be faithful to each other. And if you are, you're a faithful wife and a faithful husband. Okay. So if you're faithful to Christ, you're loyal to him, you're good to go. All right. Yeah. And Oklahoma freedom. Yes. The U.S. might collapse before then. Okay. We're on borrowed time, my friends. We're on borrowed time. Does the jab make people hybrids? No, because if you're a person, your name is in the book of life. Okay. It's in the book of life if you're a person. If you're not a person, if you're a hybrid, your name is not in the book of life. Okay. You don't get changed into a hybrid by taking the jab. Okay. All right. Who do I think the Antichrist is? I haven't a clue. I have no idea. Okay. Okay, so Jerry asked this question. What is the key thing about being rapture ready? Is it about knowing the time and spreading the gospel as the time is approaching? Again, it's all about being faithful. If you're faithful to the Lord, you're going to do things that please him. One of the things that pleases him, of course, is sharing the gospel. But it's more than that, okay? It's living with the fruit of the Spirit in your life. It's living in the power of the Holy Spirit. It's living by the power of a spiritual life. So one of the things I think is really important is really cultivating your relationship with God, because you want him to say, I know that person. You don't want him to say, I don't know you. I don't know you. I'm not intimate with you. You never show up. I invite you to things, you never come. Okay. No, what you want to do is you want to be close to Jesus and you want to love him. So to me, that love for Jesus is one of the great assurances that I have that I can give to people. If you love Jesus, you're good. Okay. Okay. So someone says a person I know expects the rapture soon and he's maxing out his credit card and living like a king buying stuff. Well, that's not really a good idea, is it? It's taking things that aren't yours with no intent to pay, and that's basically stealing. So not a good idea. Um, let's see if there's anything else here. Oh gosh, lots of questions. Um, okay, does the rapture happen before the second invasion? Yes. Yes. It may happen on the day of the day of our rapture may be the day that the second invasion takes place, but yes, we'll be gone before then. Okay, so Bible translation, I think English Standard, Berean Study, New King James, New American Standard are all good versions. So, is the rapture in a Jubilee year? The answer is no. The rapture is not in a Jubilee year. Jesus' second coming is going to usher in a Jubilee. Okay, because he comes at the end of the 70th week, that would usher in the 10th Jubilee. So that's how that works. All right. Is Christ the angel with the key to the pit? No. No, he's not the angel. No. I think it's a bad angel, one of those bad angels in heaven that's going to have the key to the pit and open it up. All right. Well, I'm glad that you all showed up. This is kind of a longer video. I hope people will want to sit and watch it through if once it's uploaded onto the live streams. And okay, will the timeline go past 2025? I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening at all. We'll see the day approaching, and actually, I can see the day approaching. I can see the day approaching. In fact, there's a part of me that goes, "Will Israel be able to hang on till this fall?" So, yeah. So anyway, well, thank you so much for showing up. Thank you all, my wonderful subs. Nice to see you, Sherry. I hope you're doing better. And thank you, Rue and Laura and Steve and Daniel. So many wonderful people. Thank you so much. I hope you'll share this video. Give it a like. Over the last month or so, my subscription numbers have gone way down. And I'm not sure exactly why that is. So if you might want to check to see if you're still subscribed, and share this video with somebody else. And we'll see you all on another one. Hope you all have a really great day today. God bless you.